Persona 5 Royal has launched in the West, bringing new music, new cutscenes, new mechanics, updated palaces, new locations, palace balancing, new characters, new scenes, and a new third semester with an additional palace. With so many new additions to the game, this is the definitive version of Persona 5, in which players either familiar with Persona or not is a great entry into the series and a fantastic JRPG. Super cool intro! Please subscribe. Hey everyone, this is Krobin49, and before I dive into my criticisms of the game and why I say it's nearly perfect, I want to make clear that I love this game. Persona 5 Royal is the version in which I think everyone should play and really sink their time into. Like I said in the intro, it's a fantastic JRPG, a fantastic entry into the Persona franchise, and just has a lot to offer and bring to the table. To preface, Persona 5 was the first Persona game I had ever played. The week after Thanksgiving 2017, I unfortunately was laid off from my job, and while I was quickly realizing that it would be impossible to find a new job before the start of the new year, I needed something, anything that I could just really spend some time with as a distraction, and I knew it needed to be a JRPG. I had never heard of the Persona franchise before in depth, a little bit in passing, I believe. However, my brother suggested that to pass the time, I should try Persona 5, and he lent me his copy, and I began my 100-hour journey into the game. And what started as a typical JRPG involving high schoolers, and as my boy Ryuji puts it, shitty adults, I quickly fell in love with the characters, the story, the music, as well as the journey I saw my friends and teammates take with me. Upon reaching the conclusion, I was glad to have that experience, but I also felt empty. Like I'd said goodbye to friends I knew in real life. It was an amazing experience, heart-wrenching, emotional, and it dethroned Final Fantasy IX as my favorite RPG, the best RPG that I had ever played up at that point. I loved it so much. I immediately went out and I bought a PS Vita and I tracked down a copy of Persona 4 Golden and I downloaded an emulator to play Persona 3.
Yeah, Percy!
When Persona 5 Royal was announced, I think I could speak for all Persona 5 fans when I say that we were ecstatic. Seeing the quality and additions online of the changes between 4 and 4 Golden, Atlus had set the bar high. And then fast forward to March 31st and Royale launches in the West. It took me almost 90 hours to beat Persona 5 Royale. And as I was preparing for the end of the game, I was convinced that Atlus was about to bring me my Game of the Year 2020, saving its truly shining moment for the ending as they had with Persona 5. I mean, with the addition of the new semester, and quite possibly one of the most well-written set of characters in a video game I have seen, Persona 5 Royal was firing on all cylinders. And during the final moments of the campaign, I prepared myself mentally for the emotional turmoil I was about to put myself through. Again. But not only willingly, happily. However, it was there at the end that Persona 5 Royal, with all of its momentum and greatness, hit a goddamn brick wall at 400 miles per hour. That's 643 kilometers per hour for all you non-North American people. What I thought would be an emotional and heartfelt ending that truly fit the teammates I had tackled the God of Control with, and furthermore the world we found ourselves in after, building on what made the original ending so great and satisfying, was an ending so shallow and of meaning and emotion that I stared at my TV for the next 30 minutes wondering if somehow my copy of the game had been corrupted, or maybe I got an earlier ending that might have been changed at the last minute. There was no way this game, who had done so well, so much right, to have a botched an ending so horribly. Instead of feeling like I had just said goodbye and had a moment to really appreciate the journey I had been on in those final moments, it felt like I was rushed out of the door without a second to breathe. So, before I give any more critique on what I believe to be the worst ending I've ever seen in visual media, perhaps slightly worse than the original Mass Effect 3 ending, this is where I'm going to get into the more nitty-gritty details. So, if you've not played Persona 5 Royal yet, and you want to not have any spoilers, you might want to leave now. Though I will say this before you go, I do think that you should play this game, and I do think that it is worth your time. Just be cautious of the ending. But thank you so much for watching this far. Have a good one. To say I'm disappointed with the ending of Persona 5 Royal is an understatement that I cannot emphasize enough. It wasn't emotional, it wasn't fulfilling, It was a slap in the face, with such a strong bonus act where they made it legitimately hard to not want to fight Maruki, the plot twist with Kasumi, or should I say Sumire, and the fact that while Akechi, while maniacal and menacing, whose self-sacrifice for the second time was touching, he found some sort of redemption by fighting for others, albeit in his own way, and it was a satisfying conclusion for the character. I say Persona 5 Royale is nearly perfect, and that's because it is. Sure, I have smaller gripes, for instance, how Sumire only joins for the last palace, or how Last Surprise is only played during normal battles, and the ambush battle music isn't as good, but I let that one slide, just because I love Last Surprise so much. Such a good song. But the fact that this game, whose entire theme is a game of friendship and finding a place to belong in society, has such a tone-deaf ending is utterly astounding. I would highly encourage everyone to watch the true ending of the original if you have not seen it. I'll link it below, and then you guys can compare it to Persona 5 Royale's true ending. And even if you have seen it, watch it again. It's a great ending. My main issue with this ending starts the day before you leave Yongen-Jaya, during your goodbye sequence. While it's still emotional and impactful, Sumire is nowhere to be found, which is understandable if you take into the context of the story where she's at a training camp. But seriously, this is your last day with Sojiro, and you're saying goodbye to everyone you have ever interacted with, but you can't say goodbye to her? Someone you've spent all year with? You help her overcome her issues with her self-identity? As well, if you choose, she's your significant other in the game. You get nothing? Okay, that's cool, I guess. I didn't really want to say goodbye to her. Whatever. And so the next day, the ending seems like it's going to go the same, maybe some small changes route. That way they can include Sumire.
Nope.
Instead of the Phantom Thieves taking one last trip together to take the main character home, they provide a diversion to keep the cops off your tail. Well, guess you're stuck there.
Nope.
Maruki shows up in a fucking taxi to take you to the station. First off, what the fuck? He drives a fucking taxi? Why? Sure, he couldn't shape reality to what he wanted because it was selfish and it takes away the freedom of growth through struggle, but instead of just trying to help people normally, he decides, oh, you know, I should just be a taxi driver. That's how I can help people. That's fucking perfect. I'm gonna be a taxi driver. And after so much time is spent developing Maruki's character, showing his motivations, and generally being a stand-up guy, except for his disordered desires, it feels like such a waste of a character. And then, when your friends meet up with you at the station, there's no goodbye, no meaningful dialogue, no heartfelt emotion. They say, see ya, and take off. You finally see Sumire, and she says two things to you.
You always taught me to keep my head up. Take care.
That's it. 2 lines. 2 lines for your teammate. I sure feel the emotion there, Atlas. Thank you. Also, can I just briefly mention the scene after the credits where it shows that Akechi and the metaverse still exist? Like, I have some theories that I could talk about in a different video if you guys want to hear my theory about it. But it's just like, it takes away from the emotion of Akechi and what he had done. He knew that he was going to disappear when he returned reality to normal, and he was still fighting. That's a noble cause. But by hinting that he's still around, that's so bullshit in a kind of way. Like, it takes away from the impact of that whole final battle sequence with Maruki. And that's why it's so frustrating. There's no satisfaction in the ending. I said it before, but it was entirely tone deaf, and it provided nothing to the story. I would have honestly taken a carbon copy of the original ending, with Sumire being in the van and she having no lines, over this, because at least it would have been the same. Your friends that you've been with for a year are taking you away, and as everyone is about to move on to their own paths, the paths that they all fought for, it would have provided so much impact and so much just feel goods, but feel bads at the same time. I would have honestly taken that. And with Persona 5 Royale, again, a game that got so much right, it failed in its closing moment. And it's a failure so horrendous that instead of providing me an emotional impact that I could share with my friends and family, it left me angry and shocked that a stain could be allowed on the canvas that Atlus and Persona gave us. Now, with all of this said, do I think Persona 5 Royale is ruined? No, hell no. I enjoyed the journey far more than the end, sure. The mechanics that they introduced, the revamps to the palaces, the will seeds mechanic, the new mementos mechanic, it was amazing. It was great. It was all part of the journey, and it was a refined Persona 5 experience that I loved. I just cannot believe that this ending was the ending that we got. And the ending left a lot to be desired. And I mean a lot. And while I have my criticisms, I don't regret the time I spent. It will just take me a bit more time before I'm ready to jump in for a New Game Plus. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.